Welcome, everyone, to the Inland Sports Show. Before we start the show, make sure you like this video and you've subscribed to the Inland Sports Show YouTube channel. And if you're a local business or organization and you'd like to promote yourself on this show, just send us an email, inlandsportsshow@gmail.com. The show starts right now. Garcia's left-footed. And what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Inland Sports Show at Home Edition. I am your host, Pep Fernandez. We're hoping to get back in the Teen Vision TV 16 studio very, very soon. Our director, Johnny Nunez, has been very busy at the end of the school year, and they've been doing some improvements over at the studio, so we'll be back in there soon. But tonight on the show, we got some really great interviews coming your way. We're going to check in with CIF Southern Section Commissioner Rob Wigod, going into basically his final month in office. He will hand things over to Mike West, the principal at King High School, who will become the new Southern Section Commissioner August 1st. So we'll have a conversation with Mr. Wigod about a lot of things, transfers, the lack of officials, and how he can encourage more people to go out and become referees, umpires, officials, and whatnot. So a lot of good stuff with him. You don't want to miss that interview. That's coming up in just a moment here. We're also going to check in with Cal State San Bernardino baseball coach Mike Nadeau. The Yotes coming off their best season ever, going to the NCAA Division II College World Series and basically the national semifinals. They won the most games in program history. They went farther than any other team in program history. So we'll catch up with Mike Nadeau as well. And a little bit later in the show, we're going to talk about a great new partnership we have with the Southwest Premier Soccer League. And we're going to be highlighting some matches of the week throughout the summer. But as we promised, first things first, we're going to have our interview with Rob Wigod, the CIF Southern Section Commissioner, again going into his final weeks on the job before passing it off to Mike West, who is currently the principal at King High School in Riverside, but he will take over on August 1st. Here's our conversation with Rob Wigod. Inland Sports. And now join us here on the show. He is the current CIF Southern Section Commissioner, Mr. Rob Wigod. And Rob, it's a pleasure to have you on here, first off. But I kind of wanted to just get you on before your tenure as the Southern Section Commissioner wraps up at the end of July. I think you were saying August 1st off air would be your final day as commissioner. I just wanted to kind of stroll down memory lane a little bit with you in the CIF Southern Section. First off, is it somewhat bittersweet, having this moment in terms of, you've been plugged into high school sports, even beyond your CIF Southern Section roles, as a coach and whatnot. Is it hard to kind of unplug and be like, well, what do I do with my free time? I know you got a family that you love, but is it kind of bittersweet this moment, knowing that you've got about a month and a half still in that office?
Well, sure. And first of all, Pep, thanks for having me, and I've always enjoyed and appreciated the opportunity to talk to you, and thank you for all the great work that you do with high school sports in the Inland Empire, especially. And but back to your question, it is definitely a different feeling. I've had 40 years, actually a little bit more than that, in education-based athletics back to the beginning of my teaching and coaching career. So, a lot of years, and you start to reflect back on so many great memories. And as the time ticks down, I have to really be honest, it's been busy enough and continues to be busy enough that I haven't really been thinking too much about getting to August 1st, because there's so many things that we've got to do until that day comes. But I do know that it's going to be a very different thing to wake up in the morning and not be heading to the office or heading to a school campus. I know that's going to definitely feel different.
So this is going to be a fun interview, I promise. And, but this is not a somber question, but, what do you think you'll miss the most? Like if you're going to fast forward maybe 2 months from now, or maybe even, I think August 18th is week 0 for football, that first Friday night. What do you think you might miss the most once you finally completely, step away?
Well, I don't think there's any question. It's going to be the people and the relationships that you have and I've been able to foster and enjoy for so many years. And while everyone and we all agree we will stay in touch and we'll be staying connected, we all know that it does change, and we're not together every day here in this office with our staff who are second to none and are truly family to me. And so I will certainly miss being with them every day and being out at games as the commissioner. It doesn't mean I can't go out and enjoy games, but it is going to be a different situation that way. But you can't do this kind of work trying to help young people and just turn that off like a water faucet. I definitely plan to continue doing some work that will help to benefit young people, and specifically students in education-based athletics. That's certainly where I'd like to spend a good amount of my time once I've retired.
All right, Rob, let's see. I'm going to frame the question like this. Instead of saying what's been more of the difficult challenges under your watch, I'm going to say what has consumed your time as CIF Southern Section Commissioner? I don't know, transfers, the introduction of sports. What has consumed your time more than maybe some other things?
That's a very, very good question. And I would respond by saying the effort of those who want to make education-based athletics into more of a business and try to steer us away from our mission, which is to educate young people using high school athletics as a platform, as a classroom outside the building to teach the life lessons that students learn through participation in high school sports. But the forces outside of that education-based athletics framework who are trying, the agenda is about scholarships, the agenda is about professional opportunities, the agenda is about trying to build maybe a super team so that they'll get more exposure as a super team and more people will come and see them. And so it's had a ripple effect on things like transfers and things like undue influence and so forth, because of this effort to really focus more on a business aspect here and focus more on the opportunities after high school, which is really not who we are. It's not our mission. It's not our charge. A very, very small percentage of our student athletes go on to college and professional athletics. So again, our mission and what we are about is the 400,000 student athletes that participate in our sports programs and making sure that we're getting the chance to teach them and really give them valuable life lessons. So that is a challenge, and it will continue. That challenge will continue. But I think we have to do the best job we can to keep emphasizing that we are the only ones that do it. Education-based athletics is a very special thing, and we've got to preserve it. And we've got to do everything we can to keep the primary function and mission of organization in front of this thing.
Rob, I just want to circle back with the introduction of new sports as well. I off the top of my head, I can think of boys and girls lacrosse. I know this past year, girls beach volleyball was introduced. Girls flag football is coming our way for CIF Southern Section, official sports. But I know, for example, San Bernardino City Unified, the school district, had their own little, flag football league. I think it was like, 5 weeks or something like that. And they crowned a district champion at the end or something like that. But was that part of the mission all along, was to introduce, new sports to the CIF Southern Section, and specifically more sports, aimed towards girls? Absolutely.
And I think that's the important part of the addition of the new sports and trying to reach students that we haven't reached. We added traditional competitive cheer as a championship sport. We added girls wrestling as a championship sport. It has now taken its place right alongside boys wrestling. Everything we're doing in girls wrestling, which started from zero, is now on par and equal with what we do in boys wrestling. It's amazing to see that progress. Our stunt, which is another version of a cheer competition, will have stunt championships coming up in 2024. Girls flag football will start as a new sport in 2024. and we expect it to become a championship sport in 2024-25. So it's really been very gratifying. We're very proud of just expanding what we do and getting the chance to have outreach to students we haven't been connected to, because what we believe in and what we do, we think is so important. And the more students that we can get involved and the more students that become part of our family is a great thing. And always a goal of ours is to just continue to grow.
Yeah, speaking of growing in this family, what is the number of schools in the CIF Southern section, and how do you make them all feel like maybe they're your favorite? I know it's probably like your kids. You're like, I love them all the same, but how do you make sure you give everyone enough attention, I guess?
Well, it's a challenge too, with a section of 560 member high schools. So we're at 560, by far the largest section in the state, and probably about 7 or 8 in the nation if you counted up the state association. So we are incredibly large, and we're incredibly diverse, and we're extremely, extremely proud of that. Our section stands for excellence, and it stands for high level of competition. And so it's been doing that for 110 years, and we're very much wanting to be a leader out there, and I believe we are. Staying connected was always a huge part of everything I tried to do every day here, our staff as well. Our biggest goal was that our schools knew us and we knew them. And so we did, I think, as much as we could do to make sure that we are present and visible at events where they invited us, where we wanted to come and participate in their league meetings, come to recognition programs. You and I have seen each other at many of those. Sportsmanship conferences, you've seen me, and we've been together at some of those as well. So as I said, it's really an effort that we have all bought into, if you will. And I think we've had a real success rate with that. I think the walls that may have existed in the past, where the CIF Southern section was seen as this nameless, faceless group, hiding behind a wall or in a bunker somewhere, making decisions and creating problems for schools. I really hope that we've broken down those barriers, and that they know that we care about them and we support them, and that we're doing this together. This important work is being done together in a partnership with our member schools and with us. And the only way that happens is if you know each other and you have relationships with each other. And I feel good about that. I mean, there's, I can drive up a freeway and pass that school, and say, I know somebody there. I mean, it's over the years, 23 years now in this office. It has given me a great opportunity to meet so many of the people that are member schools and visit so many of our schools and so forth. So, like I said, I feel good about that.
Rob, kind of in the same vein, and I don't think I've ever asked you this, but, you said a chance to go to all these schools and you meet so many different people. What's it like when you say, I don't know, turn on the NFL on a Sunday and you can go down this NFL roster and be like, that guy's from the Southern section, that guy, I know, at least specifically for the Inland Empire, at least I find tons of guys in Major League Baseball, NFL, I could go on and on. But, what's that like, knowing that, the Southern section in some way was able to help, that career happen for a lot of these professional athletes who, some of them are very, very big names?
Oh, there's no question. I think some of the biggest names that have ever played athletics in the United States of America come out of Southern section schools, whether they were Olympians, professional athletes, college athletes. I mean, we all know the tradition and history of our section includes some of the very, very greatest names ever. And so, yeah, it's awesome. I mean, as I was saying earlier about our mission and our charge, there's a small number of athletes that achieve that kind of success, and we're incredibly proud of them. They are a big part of who we are in our history. But as I mentioned, that's not the majority of the student athletes that we have. So that happens all the time. It happens with officials. I'll see the white hat in the NFL Super Bowl. There's a guy who officiated high school football games when I was coaching in the Long Beach area. So it's the athletes. Sometimes it's the coaches. It's certainly others that could be officials or in other roles in some of the highest levels of athletics in our country. So we are very, very keenly aware of the excellence that has come from the Southern section high schools, and we celebrate that.
Rob, that's a perfect segue into my next question. I did want to ask you about officials. What would you say to folks maybe watching this interview to encourage folks to try officiating? Maybe it's a former coach and they still want to stay plugged into the game somehow. School officials, former athletes. I mean, what would you say to encourage them and let them know that it is worthwhile to, play a role, participate in the CIF Southern section and be an official for whatever sport?
Well, if you love high school sports, then you know that officials are an integral part of that. And as we face the official shortage and the difficulties that brings to our schools, we need people. We need people who love sports. We need people who want to help young people. I've often said the officials do more teaching than our coaches do at times. I mean, there is just a great opportunity to be part of something that's really, really valuable to young people. We're working extremely hard on fan behavior and trying to get a better grip on and control of the way that officials are treated, because we know that if officials are treated well, that they will stay with it and continue. If they're not treated well, they're gonna get out. And that's a big part of it. Our member schools have stepped up, I think, significantly in terms of pay for officials. We're looking at between $30 and $35 an hour for officials to be working games at either freshman, junior varsity levels. I think there's a lot of jobs out there that don't pay $30 to $35 an hour. And so we've tried to make that a financially workable thing for people. As I mentioned, we have a lot of work to do to keep working on student, parent, fan behavior to make that environment a better environment. And just hope that will start to encourage people to come out and be part of this. And I think they'll find it to be very rewarding. Again, doing something to give back. And I think there's nothing more noble than trying to give back to young people. And there's a role for many people out there who are interested to get involved, and we hope that they'll start to do that.
All right, very good. Rob, final question. What do you think in the next 5-6 weeks? What are some of the things that you can do to ensure that when you pass the baton over to Mike West, the incoming new commissioner, what are some things that you can do to, make sure that it smoothly happens? And I know the fall, at least for me, and I know a lot of other people, the fall is a crazy time of the year because football is a busy time. So how can you make sure that, the office continues to run smoothly and Mike is equipped to do a great job as soon as he takes office?
Well, I have pledged my undying and unwavering support for Mike and, of course, our staff. I mean, I will do any and everything that I can to help. That has been very clearly communicated to all of them that please call on me or count on me for anything that I can do for you. We do have a tremendous staff here that is experienced and knowledgeable and runs this organization very, very well. So he's going to be able to depend on them. And I think most importantly, Mike's been an athletic trainer. He's been an athletic director. He's been a principal. He's been the president of our Southern Section Executive Committee in arguably the toughest time ever over the pandemic years. So he's been closely connected to our organization and the leadership level. He understands the ranks, coming through the ranks of the schools that he's worked at. And so I think he's very qualified to step in here now with a great understanding of who our section is and what we do and how we do it, because he's been there, he's been around it. And so I really believe with his experience, and then of course our tremendous staff, that will make sure that we are all working together and continuing this thing to move forward. I'm very, very optimistic and confident that the next phase of the journey will be in good hands, and I'm very happy about that.
Well, Rob, listen, you have always been so generous with your time, and I do appreciate it. I always enjoyed running into you at some of the different events out here in the Inland Empire. So congrats on a great tenure at the Southern section. And I'm sure, like you said, you'll probably still in some capacity still be around high school sports in our area. So thank you for being so gracious, and best of luck in the future.
Well, thank you, Pep. As I said, it's been a pleasure working with you and getting to know you and your family, and just really, again, appreciate all that you do as part of this as well. You're someone who's very much a believer and passionate about education-based athletics, and you're so great about that message getting out to people. And so, again, I commend you for that, and I've always enjoyed being with you, and always, of course, wish you the best as well.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, CIF Southern Section Commissioner Rob Wigod here on the show.
Inland Sports. And that is our interview with the commissioner, Mr. Rob Wigod. Just want to say thanks to Mr. Wigod for always being so generous and gracious with his time. Had the opportunity and the privilege to see him at a lot of different local events here in the Inland Empire. And I know he had some challenging times. We didn't really dig into it because we've talked about it before. He had to navigate the CIF Southern section through COVID, and that was a very difficult time as a lot of folks wanted to see high school sports returning, and they eventually did. It was a very busy spring in 2021 from what we all remember. That short football season and all the basketball and everything pushed back into like May and June. So it was wild. So he's done a lot, dealing with transfers and COVID and a lot of things on his plate, the shortage of officials. So anyways, but he's always been good to Inland Sports and IEMG, so I thank him for that. Thank you, Mr. Wigod, and always good. Thank you again also for always being so kind to my wife and my family when we saw you at a lot of these events as well. Very, very friendly, and I do appreciate that. All right, when we come back here on the Inland Sports Show, we'll talk with Cal State San Bernardino head baseball coach Mike Nadeau. The Coyotes coming off their best season ever. And can they get back to the World Series and maybe win the whole thing next year? We'll talk with Coach Nadeau when we come back here on a very special home edition of the Inland Sports Show. We'll be right back.
And this segment of the Inland Sports Show is brought to you by Kin Sporting Goods in Norco, #1 in the Inland Empire for team uniforms, sports equipment, and Letterman's jackets. Boost Performance Training in Corona. Athletes of all levels and all sports train at Boost. And also ask about the Bass Private School. Paulson Orthodontics in Redlands. Personalized treatment you deserve from an orthodontist you can trust. And the Southwest Premier Soccer League. Get more information online at southwestpremier.org.
What up, y'all? It's your boy Boostman here with a quick 2 cent. In pursuit of your goals as student athletes, it's perfectly fine to feel frightened, even intimidated over the amount of energy that will be required. The question is, how do you respond to fear? Do you allow it to stand in front of you or push you from behind? Big dreams and goals should always scare you a little, but allowing that fear to stand in your way will prevent you from moving forward. While those who use that fear as energy to push them forward can surmount any obstacle and achieve any goal. Your boy, Boostman.
The Inland Sports Show is proud to partner with Dr. Marcus Paulson and Paulson Orthodontics in Redlands. Dr. Paulson and his team work with children, teens, and adults using orthodontic products like traditional braces and Invisalign to make a difference in the appearance, comfort, and function of each patient's teeth. Paulson Orthodontics welcomes new patients, so schedule a visit today. Paulson Orthodontics. We make braces fun.
The City of San Bernardino has implemented a new low-cost sidewalk vending program in hopes of expanding opportunity for community members to start sidewalk vending safely and lawfully. We want everyone to have access to the economic benefits that sidewalk vending brings, but we want to make sure that our sidewalk vendors know the do's and don'ts when it comes to our city. We must make sure that vendors are keeping our residents safe by following general health and safety standards and by following all city rules. Like, did you know to legally sidewalk vend in the city of San Bernardino, you'll need a seller's permit? What about the $1 million general liability insurance that you are required to have? Don't let this scare you. When all is said and done, the cost of the annual permit will either be $64 or $154. We want to help in every way we can when it comes to vendors lawfully running and growing their small businesses. But those who operate without the proper permits can and will be cited. Citations can run anywhere from 100 to a misdemeanor, and repeated violations can result in the confiscation of items needed to sidewalk vend. We do not want this to be you. So, if you have any questions or concerns regarding the new sidewalk vending program, please call us at 909-384-5035, where staff will help you navigate your way to becoming a safe and permitted vendor in our city.
And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show at Home Edition. I'm your host, Pep Fernandez. In this segment, we're going to catch up with Cal State San Bernardino head baseball coach Mike Nadeau. The Yotes coming off their best season ever in program history, going all the way to the NCAA Division II College World Series for the first time in school history and making it all the way to the national semifinals. They won more games this year than any other CSUSB team in the past. And here's the scary part. They've got most of their lineup coming back, and this team scored a lot of runs. I mean, they broke basically every record offensively this season, and they've got a lot of guys coming back, and head coach Mike Nadeau is really excited about his squad. They got a taste of winning this season. They came very, very close, and maybe next year Cal State San Bernardino will come back with a national championship if they can get back to carry North Carolina in the D2 College World Series once again. Here's Yotes head coach Mike Nadeau.
Inland Sports.
Did you like that as the battle cry? I mean, like you said, your guys talked about it, your players talked about it. Like, nobody believes in us. Why not us? Like, it's us against the world kind of a mentality, I guess. Next year might be different now, though. But
yeah, I think you like it. I think the guys feed off it because they'll read a story or they'll do something, and we shouldn't host. It was always Monterey Bay, and then even you watch the rankings towards the end of the year, and you would see Monterey Bay pass us up, and us drop to almost like 20th, and we're like, we didn't lose any more games, but all of a sudden they dropped us from 6th to 20th, and I think that got the guys a little bit motivated. But I think when we saw it get to the playoffs, our guys changed. It was a different environment just on the field, and how they took it on was great. And even in the World Series, that first game against Rollins, we could just tell, I think the moment got to us. Couldn't hit, and we hit all year long. And then all of a sudden we got to game 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and you saw our offense just take off. But even when we were there, you could see very East Coast bias. I think anybody will tell you from the West Coast, it's probably gone to carry that they were pronouncing our names wrong. They didn't even know our mascot. We were the Wolves. I mean, it was just interesting what goes on. And you're like, this is NCAA. You think somebody would be researching this stuff out. But I think our guys played off that too. It's like, they don't even think we're supposed to be here. Mm-hmm. And look, we make the final 3, and I think that's what was good for us, just to, hey, if you're going to put a target on us for the rest of the time I'm here, do it, because that just means that built something that people want to be a part of and want to beat. That means we're the best.
So, Coach, looking ahead, looking forward to next season, obviously the expectations are going to be different for this program based on the success you had this year. Does it get you excited? Is there more pressure now? Like, like you said, you got to maybe recruit a little bit harder and maybe find more pitching or whatever that missing piece might be to actually bring home a national title. Do you feel like the expectations, the standards, going to be obviously different going into next season now?
100%. I mean, like you said, we got a target on us now, and we don't want to go backwards. Now we want to go win it. I think now the boys have experienced Cary. We've been there, which this is, it's never been done here before. And I think when they left there, they're upset that they lost. But man, I think we all are excited for fall. I mean, expectations are different. Recruiting's, and I'll tell you, you go talk to Chico, Monterey, Pomona, it's easier. When you win, you get more people calling, and people that want to be with us now that would never have called San Bernardino to come play. So our recruiting's pretty much done. Now, we were waiting on a few arms, but once we've gotten back and gotten the portal kind of just have been blowing up crazy, we're pretty much done with it. And yeah, I think now with the returning class that we have, how old they are too for next fall, I think they know the expectations. We didn't really coach a lot this year. It was really just writing that lineup up and watching those guys and filling in here and there. But the maturity of the group and how old they were, and guess what, how old they're going to be next year. I think when they come in and fall, they know the expectations. And I think now they've tasted it, now they want it.
And Coach, finally, you got the Super Regional Championship trophy behind you. That was what punched your ticket to Cary, North Carolina, the World Series. Was it almost poetic that you played Cal State Monterey Bay like so many times, so many important games to get to the World Series? I feel like if you're a Division II college baseball fan or just a CC2A baseball fan, like this is the rivalry now. This is Cal State Monterey Bay and Cal State San Bernardino. That's the series now to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think we played them 9 times, I think, this year, which is horrible. Me and Walt talked about it going into the Super, and like, you wish they would split us up, because I could see Walt there too. They had a really good team, and you see Colorado's got to go play Texas, which is a weird, that's how they do their Super. But, you kind of wish the West would let us travel or do something so that we don't have to beat each other up so much, and to give some other teams some opportunity in the West to be able to go back out there and maybe have 2 teams. But you know what? They got a great team, and our conference is so tough, and people will be after us next year. But I hope that we reload with who we do miss. We lose Coleman, we lose Oscar, you lose Deshaun, you lose Derek Bogue. Those are your 4 guys that I think are key guys for us. But I know that's what we do this for. We recruit, and we try to keep getting bigger and better every year, and hope that the rivalry stays, because that just means that Cal State San Bernardino is doing what we're supposed to do every year and keep winning.
Inland Sports.
All right, I had the chance to interview Coach Nadeau for about 15 minutes. You can catch the rest of the interview right now on Sports Weekly on IEMG. That's the IE Media Group YouTube channel and IEMG TV Channel 3 if you live in and around the city of San Bernardino. All right, we come back here on the Inland Sports Show. We're going to tell you about a cool partnership we got with the Southwest Premier League, as we're going to highlight some of the big-time matchups throughout this summer. We'll be right back here on the Inland Sports Show at Home Edition.
Thank God, first of all. I thank the great people that I've got around me that help support me, the people that work for me. As I started, if it wasn't for the people around me, we probably wouldn't be here right now, but I've got a great staff. I've got great people that do stuff for us outside the store, and we've been very, very fortunate. Our service is impeccable, and we just keep trying to get better every year. We can do online stuff for your teams, as well as, like I said, the screen printing, the embroidery. We also have 3 women that do extra sewing for us, like tackle tool on uniforms, or the bling or rhinestones for different shirts for the ladies. That's why we have certain racks just for certain schools, and the fun about that is that it turns into other schools that may come in here that aren't as close, that we can do stuff for them as well. We've had very, very good customers throughout the years, and it's just been a blast.
Well, look who it is. We are back here at the Boost Performance Center with another grit iron question with the one and only Coach Ray Bass. And Coach Bass, we've heard a lot about schools that, they want the kids who are held back here, maybe for various different reasons, to get some sort of a competitive advantage. Are those schools really necessary?
Absolutely. First, I think it's important to say that not all of these schools are created equal. And I think it's important that we start to change the conversation surrounding these types of schools and manage parents' expectations. So if you're a parent who wants your kid to go to a school like this because you want them to receive an athletic scholarship, well, only 2% of high school athletes receive a scholarship. And no matter how many schools like this that pop up, I don't believe those numbers are going to change. But if you're the parent of a student who wants to play sports in college, then the conversation needs to be, what can I do as a parent to put my kid in a position to achieve that? There's a lot that goes into earning athletic scholarship that doesn't always have to do with talent. So to go to a middle school that prioritizes academics, that prepares student athletes physically, and instills a strong work ethic, that can be very powerful going into high school. So we need to change the conversation surrounding these schools from, I want my child to become the best athlete so they can earn an athletic scholarship, to using athletics as the engine for greater achievement in life.
It all makes sense, and you heard it right here from the Boost man, Ray Bass. Again, this is the Grit Iron question. If you've got a question you'd like to ask Coach, make sure you hit Boost Training on Instagram, Twitter, and all the social media platforms. They'd love to hear from you.
The city of San Bernardino has implemented a new low-cost sidewalk vending program in hopes of expanding opportunity for community members to start sidewalk vending safely and lawfully. We want everyone to have access to the economic benefits that sidewalk vending brings, but we want to make sure that our sidewalk vendors know the do's and don'ts when it comes to our city. We must make sure that vendors are keeping our residents safe by following general health and safety standards, and by following all city rules. Like, did you know to legally sidewalk vend in the city of San Bernardino, you'll need a seller's permit? What about the $1 million general liability insurance that you are required to have? Don't let this scare you. When all is said and done, the cost of the annual permit will either be $64 or $154. We want to help in every way we can when it comes to vendors lawfully running and growing their small businesses. But those who operate without the proper permits can and will be cited. Citations can run anywhere from 100 to a misdemeanor, and repeated violations can result in the confiscation of items needed to sidewalk vend. We do not want this to be you. So if you have any questions or concerns regarding the new sidewalk vending program, please call us at 909-384-5035, where staff will help you navigate your way to becoming a safe and permitted vendor in our city.
And this segment of the Inland Sports Show is brought to you by Kin Sporting Goods in Norco, #1 in the Inland Empire for team uniforms, sports equipment, and Letterman's jackets. Boost Performance Training in Corona. Athletes of all levels and all sports train at Boost. And also ask about the Bass Private School. Paulson Orthodontics in Redlands. Personalized treatment you deserve from an orthodontist you can trust. And the Southwest Premier Soccer League. Get more information online at southwestpremier.org.
Inland Sports.
At Los Angeles Country Club. And on the final day, man, from out of nowhere, from off the top rope, Wyndham Clark is your U.S. Open champion. And again, this guy hasn't had a ton of success on the tour, has never won a major, but he was awesome. And I was hoping our guy, Ricky Fowler, the pride of Murrieta Valley High School, I thought he was going to put it together and win his first major, but he kind of fell apart on Sunday, Patrick. But Wyndham Clark is your champion. On Saturday night, Tristan Beck, the pride of Corona High School, pitched 4 innings of relief in that 15-0 win to get his first save of his Major League Baseball career. So that was kind of cool. And then, keep it with Corona baseball. Also on Saturday, Samad Taylor, former Corona Panther, made his Major League Baseball debut for the Kansas City Royals, and he had the game-winning hit, the walk-off hit against the Angels on Saturday. So a couple Corona Panthers giving giving it to our local SoCal teams, the Angels and the Dodgers.
Inland Sports.
And welcome back to the Inland Sports Show. Just hanging out with my boy Patrick in the morning on KCal 96.7 FM every Monday and Thursday morning. Talking local sports, talking Southern California sports. So check that out. I'll be on the air tomorrow morning talking more sports with Patrick in the morning. That's KCal 96.7 FM. All right, throughout the summer, we got a cool new partnership we want to tell you about with the Southwest Premier League. We're going to be highlighting the league and also some of the big matches coming up each and every week here on the Inland Sports Show throughout the summer, including this big one coming up on Sunday in the Southwest Premier League, SoCal Premier. The match of the week for this week is Fontana Legacy FC at home against Shammah FC. That is a 1:45 p.m. kickoff this Sunday, June 25th, this Sunday at the Ralph M. Lewis Sports Complex in Fontana. And that is our Southwest Premier League match of the week. There is a lot of great young talent in this league. A lot of teams throughout Southern California, including here in the Inland Empire. And so we'll be highlighting a match of the week each week right here on the Inland Sports Show. So make sure you check them out online as well. That's southwestpremier.org. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Inland Sports Show. My name is Pep Fernandez. We always appreciate you tuning in. And again, we're doing it from home for maybe a couple more weeks. We did a couple weeks already here at the Home Edition because the Teen Vision TV 16 studio is still getting all fixed up. And hopefully we will be back in the studio with our awesome director, Johnny Nunez, very, very, very soon. But right now, we're still keeping the show going from at home. In fact, I'm just checking my text messages right now to make sure Johnny didn't hit me up and say, hey, we're back in studio next week. But it will happen soon. So we're looking forward to that. Again, southwestpremier.org. Thanks, guys, for joining and partnering with the Inland Sports Show. If you're a local business or a local organization and you'd like to partner with the Inland Sports Show, the first step, and it's super easy, just shoot us an email. That's inlandsportshow@gmail.com. My name is Pep Fernandez. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Inland Sports Show, and we will see you again next week. God bless you. Stay safe out there, and thank you for tuning in. We really do appreciate it, and we will see you next time.
And this segment of the Inland Sports Show is brought to you by Kin Sporting Goods in Norco, #1 in the Inland Empire for team uniforms, sports equipment, and Letterman's jackets. Boost Performance Training in Corona. Athletes of all levels and all sports train at Boost. And also ask about the Bass Private School. Paulson Orthodontics in Redlands. Personalized treatment you deserve from an orthodontist you can trust. And the Southwest Premier Soccer League. Get more information online at southwestpremier.org.